One thing that we men are bombarded with every day is how we need to open up more, that we should share our feelings, share our emotions. We're told that communication is the key to a healthy relationship and that vulnerability is strength. And of course, we're told that our silence is the result of our inherent emotional immaturity. To be fair, some of that is true. I think we can all agree that healthy relationships do actually require communication. They require honesty. They require trust. Which begs the question, if all that is true and even we men know it, then why do so many men choose to stay silent? Why do they stop talking about things that matter to them? Well, I'm not talking about work, football, or whether Aaron Boone needs to be fired, and quick side note, he does, and now. No, I'm talking about serious things, the serious things that men are dealing with on a daily basis. Things like stress, the constant demands and expectations placed on them, the fears that they have to live with every day, the self-doubt. To sum it all up, why do men refuse to open up and talk about the things that keep us awake at 3 a.m, staring at the ceiling? Why do guys who used to tell their wives and girlfriends everything eventually, almost inevitably, become the guy who answers every question with, "I'm fine"? Well, I'm about to answer that. I'm going to answer that question, ladies, and you aren't going to like what I have to say. But if you actually care about men, especially the men in your life, well, perhaps it's time you paid attention. For years now, we've all been given the same explanation. It's because men are afraid. They're afraid of looking weak. They're afraid of crying. They're afraid of being vulnerable. They're afraid of showing any emotion. Sorry, but no. Do those things come into play with some men? Absolutely. But they're not even remotely close to the biggest reasons why anymore. Men don't go silent because they're afraid. Men stay silent because experience has taught them over and over again that opening up comes with a cost, a very hefty cost, one that overwhelms the benefits of opening up. And see, that's a completely different conversation than the one they want to have, the one where they can put the blame entirely on men for being afraid. Which, when anyone says that, just actually proves men right. Proves them right in knowing that it's simply not safe to open up. We human beings learn from consequences. You touch a hot stove, you get burned. So you don't keep touching it because somebody else tells you that the next burner might be different. You learn, you adapt, you protect. That's not fear. That's experience. It's the experience that men have faced time and time again throughout their lives. And relationships work the same way. A man takes the risk and opens up. He talks about the pressure that he's under. He admits he's worried about money. He tells her he's struggling. He admits he feels like he's failing, or that maybe he's depressed, maybe he's anxious, maybe he's carrying the weight of trying to hold everything together while pretending everything is fine. And sure, sometimes he's met with compassion. Sometimes he might even be met with understanding. Occasionally, he might even have his partner say exactly what every man hopes to hear. "I'm here for you." And when that happens, that's exactly how it should be. But that is not every man's experience. In fact, it's such a rare experience that many men have never actually had it. Others only once or twice in their entire lives. But more often than not, even if he does experience it, he knows and sees that something changes. Maybe it's subtle, maybe it's obvious. Maybe she starts looking at him differently. Maybe she loses confidence in him. Maybe something he shared in confidence with her will suddenly become the entire conversation on her next girls' night. Or worse, the latest trending TikTok video. Maybe 6 months later, in the middle of an argument, his most vulnerable moment, will get pulled out of storage and weaponized against him like a district attorney showing Exhibit A to the jury. Men see that. They know it happens. They've had it happen to them over and over and over again. Which is why, if you've been around long enough, you've no doubt heard other men say something like, "I'll never make that mistake again." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, "I'm afraid." He said, "I learned." There's a huge difference there, and it's one that most women won't and don't hear. Which is why they keep asking us, "Why won't you men open up?" When maybe they should be asking, what happened the last time that he did? Because that's where the answer usually lies. And here's something else most people have gotten entirely wrong. People, and by people I mean women, love to act like men are born emotionally unavailable. In fact, they go to great lengths to make videos on social media stating that as an absolute fact. But is it? Is it really? I mean, have you ever met a little boy? Little boys cry. Little boys get scared. Little boys run to mom or dad when they scrape their knee. It's proof that, contrary to what feminists and women say, men don't come into the world emotionally shut down. They learn it. Men learn early, as young boys, that they need to become emotionally cautious. They're taught to stay silent, to keep it to themselves, to not share any thoughts, feelings, or emotions, nor in some cases to even have them, because doing so makes things harder. That's not emotional immaturity, it's actually emotional maturity. There's a difference there, and a big one, and it's one that most people refuse to accept, refuse to admit. Men don't stop having feelings, they become more selective about who they're going to show them to. And honestly, who the hell can blame them? Think about your job for a second. Your boss calls everyone into a meeting, or HR does. They say, "We value honesty. We want open communication. So if you're struggling, come talk to us." We've all heard that spiel time and again, and it sounds great on its surface. Until one day, you actually go and do it. You admit you're overwhelmed, you're burned out, you're having a tough time. A month later, you notice you're getting passed over for opportunities. Nobody ever says your honesty is the reason, but something feels different. Oh, they'll never admit what's going on, but deep down, every man knows exactly what it is. They've lost respect. They've lost confidence in him. They now see him as weak for even having struggles, let alone expressing them. I've had it happen to me, as has pretty much every guy out there at one time or another, and in one form or another. Which is why, as a man, you say to yourself the next time you're struggling, how honest should I be? How open should I be? The answer is obvious. Not very. And it's not because you're dishonest, but because you've learned your lesson. Because experience has taught you something. That it's simply not safe for a man, any man, to share his thoughts, feelings, or emotions. Because if he does, he will pay a steep price for doing so. It's not an if, but a when. And more often than not, that when is instantaneous. And it's something you see all the time in relationships. It's amazing how many women will say, "You can tell me anything." And they likely mean it. That is, right up until the time that anything makes them uncomfortable. Then, it's "how dare you? How dare you hurt me?" Happens on this channel literally every single day. Men Need to Be Heard was created to help men have a space where they could feel safe, where they could share their feelings and struggles and not be judged. And yet, every single day, without fail, women jump into the comments to say, "How dare you? How dare you, you misogynist, red-pilled, women-hating pigs. This channel needs to be shut down." And then they try and go and do just that. Apparently, communication is important to women, but only if it's on their terms and conditions. And we men see that. We see what happens on channels like this and in real life, all day, every day. We see it happen to our fathers, to our brothers, to our friends. We see it happen in the media, and we see it at the workplace. And not only do we see it, we experience it ourselves over and over and over again, all while being told that it's not happening. Yeah, sure. Okay. Now, before somebody starts furiously typing in the comments, which trust me, they already are, saying that he's just a bitter, broken, bald man who picked the wrong woman and now hates them all, something I again get thrown at me literally every day, maybe, just maybe, you should take a step back, because you're missing the point. Because yes, sure, there are wonderful women out there who create an environment where a man can feel completely safe being himself. And I know that because I'm married to one. So those women, I can say for certain, absolutely exist. But they are in the minority by a wide margin. They are rarer than a pink and green unicorn flying around farting fairy dust while holding a $10 billion winning lottery ticket in its mouth. And if you're lucky enough to have one, as I am, men know they need to hold on to her because she's a rare gift. She's more precious than all the silver, gold, diamonds, and platinum, not just on the earth, but throughout the universe. But for a lot of men, for most men, they might as well not even exist. Because for those men, this isn't based on one bad relationship or one bad encounter. It's based on years and years of watching patterns. It's based on their own experiences, their friends' experiences, their father's experiences, their brother's experiences. It's them seeing men pay the price time and time again for showing emotion or, God forbid, sharing about them. Sorry, but human beings don't just learn from what happens to them. They learn from watching what happens to other people, too. Ladies, do you think the literally millions and millions of videos that you all post on a daily basis to social media, mocking men, dismissing them, dismissing their struggles, insulting them, disrespecting them, discounting them, aren't seen by men? That they don't have an effect? Seriously, ladies? You can call them a joke all you want, but we men know exactly what you're doing. You've made trying to shame men into an art form. You've turned it into your raison d'etre. And you have the gall to then ask, why won't men open up? Why won't they talk to me? Why are they so afraid? Seriously? Look, I know y'all think men are stupid, but we aren't. We see what you're doing, and we see you for exactly who and what you are. And only a fool would ignore it. Which is why eventually, inevitably, every man starts doing the mental math. Should I tell her this, or should I keep it to myself? Will she respect me? Will she see me differently? Will this come back during our next fight? Will I regret saying this tomorrow? That's not a man without emotions. That's a man who's learned to calculate risk and who already knows the answer to the question. The answer being that the best option, the only option, is to keep it buried deep. Deep inside where it can't be weaponized against him or shared with the world to try and humiliate him, which so many women do. And here's the real tragedy. The silence actually works, at least for a while. It protects men from embarrassment. It protects men from rejection. Protects them from feeling exposed. It protects their feelings, their thoughts, and their emotions. It protects their reputation. But it also keeps people out, and that comes with its own cost. One far too many men pay for with their own lives. The fact is, the same walls that protect you also isolate you, and that's not healthy for anyone. The relationship becomes more distant. Communication becomes more superficial. Resentment starts building. Loneliness starts growing. Many men say the loneliest time in their lives is when they were married, which is why eventually, many times, both people look at each other and wonder, what happened to us? Well, what happened is that somewhere along the line, one person realized it wasn't safe to open up and tell the truth. And the primary reason why is because the other person made it that way. I also think we've made another mistake, which is that we've convinced men that one person should be their entire emotional support system. And I'm guilty of that. I myself have said, make sure you have that one bud that you can rely on. But historically, that wasn't how men lived. Men had brothers, they had fathers, friends and mentors. They had co-workers, they had communities. They had places to go and speak to other men, where they could talk to them without feeling like every word was being analyzed under a microscope. And now, due to agendas like feminism and its so-called push for equality, men have lost all of that. We're so worried about being inclusive and protective of women that in the process, we've destroyed safe spaces for men. All while telling them they need to create safe spaces for themselves. Funny how quickly women in society attacks those spaces when men try to, isn't it? The hypocrisy of it all is absolutely astounding. The fact is, men collectively are paying a price. Your wife or girlfriend should absolutely be someone that you can trust, but she shouldn't be the only one you can trust. Men need other good men in their lives, and that's not hatred of women or misogyny, as women and feminists love to claim it is. It's called brotherhood. Every man needs people who understand the unique pressures that he's carrying, needs someone who actually cares about the pressures he's carrying. And let's be honest, women fail miserably at both, and have for a long, long time. Which is why men need other men in their lives. So let me wind this down by leaving you with this thought. Women keep asking, why won't men open up? I don't think that's the right question. I think the better question is, what have women done to teach them that it's better not to? Because in the end, that actually is what has happened. And just because you don't like that fact doesn't mean it's not true. Men stay silent not because they're afraid of being vulnerable, but because they know the repercussions they'll suffer if they do. They stay silent because experience has taught them what opening up can cost, a cost that is much higher to bear than if they don't. And until we're willing to have an honest conversation about that, we're going to keep giving men advice that sounds good on the surface, but in fact, completely ignores the reality that almost all of them have lived. Healthy relationships aren't built because someone demands vulnerability. They're built because vulnerability proves to be safe. When a man knows he can tell the truth without losing respect, without having his words weaponized or shared with the world, without feeling like his struggles suddenly make him less attractive or less capable or less of a man, you'll usually discover something surprising, which is that he was never incapable of opening up. He was just waiting for a reason to believe it was safe. It's too bad so many women refuse to give him that reason. Alright, if you got something out of today's video, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment. Have you ever felt like opening up strengthened a relationship or taught you to keep things to yourself? I honestly would really love to hear your perspective. Till next time, this is Dan. Take care of yourselves and each other.